call the council meeting to order, and there's one page on page 2 dealing with the farmers market. Didn't get included because of photocopying problems on Friday, but other than that, can I have a motion to accept the agenda? Callahan and Campbell, all in favor? Carried. Declaration of pecuniary interest, if any. I will be declaring a possible conflict of interest on point 1. We will have Deputy Reeve Campbell take the chair for that section. Moving ahead, approval of the minutes, the 4.1 February 26th special budget meeting. Do I have a motion? Site and I'll say it. All in favor? Carried. 4.2, the public council meeting held March 2nd. Do I have a mover? Campbell and Wadden. All in favor? Carried. 4.3, minutes of the quarter revision from March 2nd. And this, should this be ones that were on the court? Campbell and Hallahan. All in favor? Carried. And the minutes of the regular council meeting held March 2nd. Wadden and Knott. All in favor? Carried. And 4.5, the minutes of the industrial and land strategy joint council meeting held March 5th. Do I have a mover? Knott and Campbell. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Randy.
Sure.
For the deputations, we will have Connie introduce the ones making a deputation on behalf of the proposed weekly farmers market.
Okay, so we do have a volunteer community group that has been putting together information to bring a farmers market to Wingham. I'd like to introduce them. I'll go down the line. There's quite a few of them here. And I'm going to start with Joan Brady. Joan Brady is a consultant with Sustainable Futures. And she has actually been helping do a lot of the heavy lifting for putting the package together. Matt Armstrong, Archie McKean, Jim Snyder, Lorraine Poulin. There we go. The rest of them, they have been meeting on a fairly regular basis to put together this package. So I'm going to turn it over to Joan, and she is going to speak to what's in your package.
So basically I'm going to give a short presentation, and it's going to involve some different information, some general information on what a farmers market is all about, what are some of the benefits to the community and to the people that are participating, as well as some of the specific information around the Wingham farmers market. Just waiting. So basically just a little bit about myself and why I'm the one that's working with the Wingham Steering Committee. I've been a farmers market vendor since 2002, and I participated in the startup of both the Grand Bend and the Exeter Farmers Market, one in 2006 and one in 2009. Between 2010 and 2012, I worked with Huron Business Development Corporation, working as a local food developer, business developer, and worked with Howick in Brussels at that time. This summer, I worked with the Bayfield Farmers Market as chair of the steering committee as well as market manager. I also work with farmers and on local food system issues locally, provincially, nationally, and internationally. In June, I will be attending a United Nations event on connecting smallholder farmers to markets. So what is a farmer's market? To me, a farmer's market is an open-air storefront. Basically, it's a place where people can go where they're looking for locally grown fresh foods and other complementary products. It's cooperative. Farmers and vendors are sharing organization, expense, insurance, and promotion to bring their fairs to town. And it's a place where communities meet, and they need to be designed to complement those purposes. So I suggest when we're organizing a farmer's market, we do a producer-based, community-driven farmer's market. So producer-based means that if you are a farmer or a food vendor or an artisan that is at the market, it's your own product, and it's very important that it is. And community-driven, it is a spot for communities, and so we want community involvement. We want the community there, but we also want it to be a place where community organizations can get involved, and we want it to complement community events and things like that. So when we talk about what people are looking at the farmer's market, they're looking for the real farmer or producer. 93% say it's important to buy directly from the producer, 67% feel it is very important, and that's based on Farmers Markets of Ontario data. And also, the Ontario Ministry of Health gives special jurisdiction outside the Food Premises Act for a producer-based farmers market. So we need 51% of vendors to be farmers that actually produce their product to get that designation. And what that designation allows is actually that farmers can then prepare, things like jams and jellies in their home kitchen without it having to be a commercial kitchen. So this is the results of a survey that we did in 2011 with the Exeter Farmers Market. Why do people go to the farmers market? Well, they're looking for fresh fruits and produce. They're looking for local food. They enjoy the friendly people, and that's vendors and other community members. They're looking for good variety. So sometimes variety is a challenge for a small market. And we have special ways that we kind of work with that. And they're there because they understand and want to support local farmers because it's good for the economy and the environment. Farmers Markets Ontario, and the plan is for Wingham Farmers Market to be a member of Farmers Markets Ontario, has done some research, and so they know on average a shopper spends about $30 a week at the farmers market, and that for every dollar they spend, $3 is spent at neighboring businesses. So in Grand Bend, when we started the farmers market within sight of the Sobeys parking lot and the Sobeys grocery store, there was some concern that that might be competition. But it was very, very quickly realized that their busiest day was market day. People would get what they were looking for at the farmers market, and then they would complement their weekly shopping at the local store. So just to give you an example of what economic impact might be like, the Exeter Farmers Market in their first year of operation did about $70,000 for the season. And so the season is about 22 weeks. So an average of $3,000 a week. I think there was an average of 12 vendors a week. But I'm also a vendor at the St. Mary's Farmers Market, and in its 17th year, the same year as Exeter started, made $210,000 with a similar number of vendors. So again, it's like any kind of business. It takes time to build, but significant impact to the local economy. The other thing about a farmer's market that I like to suggest is a community area. So a community tent that's available for use. Usually community groups are charged a membership fee, so they're included within the insurance. And then we also The market would also look for partnership with community groups to host events, so they could be fundraisers and you know, extra manpower for special events. So farmers markets, it's not rock. It's a simple process, but it also needs to be planned very carefully. And I worked with the steering committee for. By the time the market is launched, we've been working together for 8 months. And it pays to plan carefully. We've written bylaws, we've put together vendor criteria, we've surveyed area farmers to see about their availability, what kind of things that they're looking for. We've looked at different locations. And the other thing, and we also need to seek community support. So we have the BIA represented on the steering committee. We have the Horts Society represented on the committee, and we've been working with Connie for those months as well. And so it's important to have a community, but it's also important to make sure that the farmers are part of the leadership structure because they do have a stake in it, and we rely on them to be successful. And we have 2, and I'm pleased to say, young farmers on our steering committee. So just a short note about farmers markets in Huron. Sustainable Huron talks about, these are all the principles that were highlighted during that process. It was a community-based process, so again, we're looking for agricultural strength and diversity. Farmers markets are all about local food. Local food is about the local economy because what's spent here stays here often. Local food is also about entry-level farming. We need different kinds of farms to build our network of farmers. So again, the Wingus Farmers Market, the steering committee in partnership is area farmers, the community members, and we've had a great deal of support from Connie. In our vision, and we actually worked through this, it took a meeting. What exactly do we want to do? What do we want to represent? And our vision is the Wingham Farmers Market will be a homegrown, viable, and vibrant, and will build a healthier, well-connected, and more neighborly community in Wingham. And we've had significant discussions about not only the importance of this, but how we will lay it out. So our strategy, enthusiastic representative steering committee, a downtown location, again, that rules and regulations and vendor criteria, so it's a producer-based market, building community relationships. There's been a great deal of outreach to potential vendors, and there's about 15 that have shown some interest. And again, that focus on being a producer-based, community-driven market. And I apologize, this is not the right picture. If everybody did get a package, this is actually the one that we should be referring to. But when I help plan a farmer's market, I talk about location. Location is one of the most important things, and there's no time to tell you tonight, but we've had some challenges both in Brussels and Exeter around location. So this knowledge has come honestly. So it's important to be visible. It's important to have parking. It's important to consider who owns the site. The lot surface might be significant. It's nice to have pavement, although in Bayfield we're on Clongregor Square, and it's, I think, a beautiful location. Room for expansion, because we plan to be successful, so we want to be able to bring other vendors in. Washroom facilities, not so much for the customers, but for the vendors who are there for the better part of an afternoon. And ideally downtown. A downtown location has been successful in most of the other markets that I have worked with. Exeter, for a time, was at the local arena, and we had to move it. We just didn't get the traffic. Grand Bend was again off the beaten track for a year, and we had to move it. So that downtown location, 2 things: people are downtown, but also it complements those neighboring business. So thanks for listening, and we'll be glad to field any questions, and I'm going to call on Archie, our chair, and Matt, our vice chair, and they're going to assist me in answering them.
Okay. Councilors. Jim.
Who carries the insurance?
So my recommendation to the steering committee is that they take insurance with Farmers Markets Ontario. It's a group insurance program that most of the markets in Ontario, especially the smaller independent ones, are part of. And so we would purchase insurance from Farmers Markets Ontario.
Now, do the vendors have to have insurance of their own, like liability?
Yeah, so the market insurance will cover liability and property on the site, but each business owner or vendor should have their own insurance.
And the liability insurance, we can have the municipality written in as a co-insured, so the municipality is not at any risk from anything that happens down at the market.
And again, Exeter and Bayfield in particular, as well as Brussels, all those markets are organized with municipalities working with them, so they might be open to sharing their experience with you if there's any concerns.
Trevor.
Has there been some discussion about sustainability within the actual committee? The reason I ask is sometimes groups like this, like anything else, it goes for a couple years, and those original committee members become tired, and has there been discussion about kind of making sure that there's been a kind of a succession plan on how those committee members are going to come from once that is?
So right in the bylaws, a process is outlined, and bylaws will be reviewed every year. But basically, we're operating on a steering committee basis, but we will hopefully have an elected board. And that's why it's very important for vendors to be on the board, because they're the one constant with the market then would be those vendors. And then my suggestion would be that we have BIA representation and we have horticulture representation. So if it's not one person, and ideally it would be great to have municipal representation, if not staff and leadership.
Brock.
Do you have an opening date?
Well, we're looking towards the first Wednesday in June. Yeah, traditionally it's May 24, but May 24 is a bit early this year, and I've heard that it might be a long spring, so we don't want to have a market opening date and then not have any fresh produce. So first Wednesday in June.
We deserve a long spring after the winter.
Ray.
So if I want to be a vendor, so then it's the committee, all these things you want me to go through, like, you know, the rules and everything now. But to be accepted, that it's the committee that would accept me as a vendor.
Right, and we would ask you
Whether or
to
not.
meet the criteria. The criteria outlines where you can farm and or live in relation to Wingham. So, you know, we want to have that local designation. Although within the rules, there is some flexibility. We're a small rural market, so if we want peaches and we can convince someone to come from Forest, I think it would be a bonus. And so there's those kind of designations. And so, yeah, and we also ask you to actually have read those rules and regulations and sign that you agree with them. You know, it's very important to have those rules of engagement.
And a lot of the markets, the vendors will have a sign right on their stall saying who they are, what the farm is, and what produce they have that they grow and sell. And once they give the committee the list of what they're going to grow and sell, they can't bring anything without coming back to the committee and saying, I'd like to add this or that. And the committee gets a chance to look at it and say, yes, we'll permit you to bring that in or not.
That's answered my question. Thank you.
Yolanda.
Of the 15 plus interested vendors, are those confirmed or are they just still interested?
It was difficult to confirm until we're sure we have the market up and going, but if we get the go-ahead as we expect to get tonight, then we can go ahead and advertise and say the market will be on such and such a day, and we'll take applications for other vendors.
And actually, the vendors were involved in the selection of the date.
Yeah.
So we suggested these are the dates, what suits you best. And a Wednesday might seem unusual, but always the limiting factor for a farmer's market, the farmers themselves. Generally, a lot of established farmers have a Saturday market, but they're looking for a market midweek. And so that's why, you know, the Wednesday suits.
Brock?
In soliciting vendors, did you sort of reach your limit at 15, or are you hopeful that there'll be more added prospects?
I would suspect this first year that if we got 8 to 10 vendors on the site, that would be good. We'd like to see the market grow over a period of time, and then if the market grows, then the market area that we encompass for the market would have to grow with it. And there's been a lot of discussion around how we make that happen.
Thanks.
And it's my experience that a market will start with 8 to 10 vendors and the word gets out and there's a great deal of interest, so.
Trevor?
Based on where the market is, what's the size limit to it? Like, so how many vendors could fit in that area?
On the municipal parking lot that we have, we could probably have 8 to 10 vendors quite comfortably. If we were to grow to 15, 20, or 25 vendors, then personally, I'd like to see the market expand onto the street. But it depends on getting the number of vendors, and then it gets permission to use the street as a market area.
So generally a market stall is about 10 by 10 and then sometimes accommodation needs to be made for vehicles. Personally, I like to park my vehicle in behind, but you know, will carry if necessary.
Sorry, if it would be possible for staff to get the details on the liability insurance, limits and all of that kind of stuff, just because it's on municipal property, we'll want to run that by our own insurance company.
Yeah, for sure.
No problem.
Okay. Ray?
So actually tonight you're asking for permission to put it on the hearing.
On the Huron municipal parking lot, yes. Yes.
I'm open to council's pleasure as to whether we do a motion tonight or Trevor?
I'll make a motion to accept the proposal from the Wingham Farmers Market on the, with the condition of Pat getting all the information that she's required with regards to insurance.
Questions, comments? All in favor of the motion? Carried.
Thank you
Best of
very
luck
much.
and wish you great success.
Thank you.
Okay. For the Reeves report, it is getting close to St. Patrick's Day, so. And there's a number of things that we can look forward to, spring and summer stuff. Seeing as the Ironman's demise was Saturday night. But with warmer weather, we can look to baseball and softball and snow pitch, soccer, and quite a few things. So that I won't go on too much longer on that. There's some things that are happening that I didn't think that we were interested in a membership in Communities in Bloom again, but we did get an application that if any of you are interested, you can look at this afterward, and we can, if we're interested, we can do something next meeting. And there is, from AMO, LAS sessions. The only one in the area is Tuesday, March 31st in Bruce County at their administration center in Washington. Donna, do you know anything about this or not? I think it's to basically explain all the LAS programs, the retrofits to energy efficient, and the number of where you can bank with them or withdraw, one thing and another. I will leave that for you to dig in. Were you interested in going to that bill?
Yes, I was considering it. There's some other elements as well regarding the water sewer insurance program. Your little insurance program for homeowners from their one of the sent out earlier. I think you sent that out, didn't you? That's to insure them against the repair costs, having to dig up from their house to the trunk line?
Yeah, like right now, we're responsible to the property line, and
yeah,
that could be it.
And they have that. That's being explained in that LAS session as well. I was considering it.
Okay, that I know that you have followed up on LAS on most things for us, Donna, so that if you're really thinking of it strongly, maybe talk to Donna and Kathy about that. And this came through to me on county, but it's Victim Services of Huron County, and there's Shaping Huron Together, April 23rd at the Knights of Columbus Hall. It's cost of $25, payable to Victim Services Huron County, but it's the keynote speaker and a survivor of human trafficking that is speaking. That I know that I'm going to try and include it in my schedule. I'm bringing this as something that if any of the rest of you, I will also leave this at Town Hall as something that you can check more on later or ask questions, but and I think there may be some eyes opened as to how easy human trafficking can even happen in this country and in this province. Okay. So that's the county council report. Moving on to 6.3 financial report. Is there questions? Great.
Page 2, I think this is to Kelly, the best way scales for $2,045. Is that at the landfill?
It's at the landfill, yeah, we had some troubles
So how
with
often-
freezing.
How often do they have to be done?
I think it was done maybe 2 or 3 years ago. No, we have something done every year, but this was a problem.
Oh, okay, this was more than just, this wasn't calibrated.
Okay. Any other questions? Can I have a motion? Vauden?
Move approval.
Approval. And seconder? Sight? All in favor? Carried. 6.4, health and safety is what it is. Director of Finance, Donna, do you want to comment?
Sure. So, as council is aware, you've been hearing a lot about the Snell municipal drain lately, and I was approached by one of the landowners as per that Appendix C schedule that you reviewed as part of that process. Some of the landowners may be assessed up to just over $40,000. So it's caused some concern for several of the property owners, and I was approached by one of the particular owners assessed in that drain, saying that other municipalities had some sort of a program to make it a little more manageable and palatable for the owners not to have to pay that large amount in 1 year. So I contacted Huron East, and they have a similar program in which the municipality issues a 3-year loan with a rate equivalent to the current tile drain loan rate of 6%. But it would be available to all the property owners if they wish to partake in it, and it would only be applied for assessments greater than $1,000. So this is something, if council doesn't have to make a decision on this tonight, because I don't believe the actual construction work will be done till late this fall, so they probably won't get their bills actually till 2016. But in order to pre-plan and for the landowners to have some sort of avenue to alleviate some of their concerns or give them the opportunity to investigate other options, I'm bringing this forward to council tonight for consideration. So I'm basing it on that other municipalities such as Huron East, who are far more familiar with drains than we are, do have this kind of program. We could, as I said, fund it out of the water and sewer reserve, so then that fund would earn this interest back, so it would be a win for the fund as well. And it is something along the same lines as what we did for the capital costs of the Belgrade water system. So, does anybody have any questions on this?
Councillor, Deputy Reeve Campbell.
Are all the landowners going to be notified that this is available, or just the ones who have come in and asked for it?
No. If council decided to go ahead with it, everyone has to be treated the same.
Yes.
So they would all be offered the same thing.
Okay.
So it's not just for one person in any stretch of the imagination. The other thing is too that I wanted to make note of is that we haven't run into this kind of a drain in 15 years, but now we may have a few more coming up. So I just wanted to, in this report, I've noted, like, really this wouldn't be precedent setting. I think council has to review it case by case, because we may not be in a position to put the money out at some point. And if, if another large drain came out, the total cost of this would be over $200,000. So, at other times we may not have that money available to run a loan program.
Brock.
I think it's a great idea to give the people that kind of assurance and comfort, but since we don't have a plan to present, would it be appropriate to say that we approve in principle the notion of providing this opportunity for insurance?
We still have to pass it by bylaw.
Yes.
So that...
I'd make that motion.
We have a couple.
Ray, are you seconding?
Well, I was thinking that we should move forward on this, simply because these property owners, they're going to have to go and look for other financing probably, right? So rather than put them through that avenue if they have to do it, I think like Brock says, it's a good idea, and I think we should make the motion to proceed with it.
Well, but there is funds available this year to do it.
Yes, we would be able to do it this year from either the water
For
or
this,
sewer fund.
and that we would say this does not set a precedent for other times and other drains.
Right.
I would change my motion and that we go ahead with this right away.
And should there be a time limit in there as to when these property owners should have this done, so that we know where we're at too, eh? Or like, whether they want to go this route or not, like in a month or whatever?
Well, I think they have right up until, if council does wish to proceed with this, what it does is give them kind of a last fail option. I would think that there are other avenues that they could pursue at a cheaper interest rate than this. So this just kind of gives them last sort of out, but it does give them that security that if they can't secure financing in another method, that this would still be here to fall back on. Another thing that other municipalities do, as I said, they likely won't be billed this year in 15, but some of the municipalities encourage them to make a payment in 15. They divide the payments up into 15 so that they can claim it on their farm books in 15, but then they, like a prepayment, and then actually get the bill in 16, so they can spread it out over 2 years that way as well. So there's a few things they can do. We can try to help them out with it.
But Donna, what happens if, for instance, there's another drain comes along, and they're not committed to proceeding with this, it's left open, what happens then?
Yes, they would have to let us know. I would say they would have to let us know by the time construction started, or there has to be a date when they do have to commit by, for sure.
Okay, thanks.
Trevor?
What's our risk mitigation plan if, like, I hope never a farmer goes under, but like we give out the money and they decide to defunct on the loan, what's the risk? What's our risk mitigation plan for that?
We would have to add it to their taxes. That's what would happen. It would be billed out on their taxes. It would be a 3-year program billed on their tax bill for 3 years. So it would be collected the same as taxes are. Which if you don't pay your taxes after 3 years, then we can sell the property.
Risk mitigated.
Very well mitigated. Ray?
And Donna, is that not the way the tile drain operates too?
Yes.
Same.
I'm not as familiar with it, but
Actually,
It's
I
pretty
think so,
similar to
yeah.
what she's talking about, that definition.
Okay. I'll second the motion.
okay, have we had enough discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay. The point 2, the land rental for the other portions of farmland that we actually do rent out. This is formalizing it into a system that rather than the way it's been done, relatively ad hoc, one at a time. So this is a way of bringing all the properties into compliance and as to treating them all the same. Trevor?
So let me ask the question. So we have people renting this land now.
Yes.
So we are going to, with this particular arrangement, are we going to legalize that arrangement that we have already, or are we going to put it out for tender that says now everybody's up for grabs, somebody can rent it at this price?
that's our recommendation.
The second one.
Goes full tender.
Full tender? I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Second Campbell. Any further discussion?
So did they all come through at the same time?
That's what we want, is to get them all on a cycle and have written agreements with their insurance, etc. So we would advertise them in the paper and put them out for tender, and then bring that information back to council, and then it'd be subject to a formal lease agreement.
So has some of them been a 2-year, or 3-year?
We have no written agreements at
Oh,
all,
okay. Very
so
good.
that's what we're trying to
Okay.
amend.
Okay, I think we're ready. All in favor? Carried.
Okay, thank you.
Moving to Department Public Works, the update, self-explanatory. Any questions for Kelly on it?
one note, I'd like to change the tendering process for the gravel. I'd like to break it into two where I can get the crushing done in our own pit and have the load haul and apply to the north end of the township from our own pit, which hasn't been done in the past. Just as a note, so that council is aware of that.
That's a good idea. Do you want a motion?
Not tonight's meeting.
Sorry, can you repeat that, Kelly?
Well, normally when we do the north half of the township with gravel, we take it out of, we buy the gravel.
Okay.
And just in conversation with area residents and traveling those roads, the gravel that's been put on there just isn't up to what it should be. So we believe that our gravel in our own pit will do a better job.
Okay.
Do you know where the township pit is, Trevor?
I really don't need to know. I just want to understand why or what the
Well,
rationale was. That's all
the rationale used to be for the trucking, and the closer you were, the better. But there's other criteria being brought in, and that if you know where Westfield is, the township pit is almost halfway through the block south there, so that will let you know what the haul route might be. So that basically this is just for information.
Yeah, for tonight.
Okay, moving to recreation facilities. There's a refrigeration maintenance contract. Pat?
Hi, yes, thank you for taking a look at this report. I have invited David Cook here. This refrigeration maintenance contract is really something he works hands-on with, and so is Larry Meyer in the Wingham Arena. So if there are questions regarding the services provided and the types of things that, and the decisions made here, he's here to help answer questions. In the past, we have always had a refrigeration maintenance contract, and when we've done them, we've sort of had a preventative maintenance contract that listed specific things, and we got a flat rate for that and was billed quarterly based on that. This time in conversation with Dave Cook and Larry Meyer, they really wanted to go with what I would call a shopping list of services that they can call upon and order as needed for preventative maintenance. What we were finding, and I'm sure Dave can explain it better than me, but sometimes we would have something under that preventative maintenance contract that we didn't really need done. But they would have to come in and do it anyways because we already pre-ordered it and prepaid for it. And so we feel that this shopping list is going to give us a lot more control. And it also provides a quick call to a service company if our plants break down, and they're there within so many hours. And so unlike a tender where it was giving us a flat price, there was a number of prices listed that they each had to give us over 3 years for all sorts of services, as well as emergency call-in rates, how quickly will they respond, and all this kind of stuff. So after evaluating that with our team, it became apparent that Simcoe Refrigeration had the best pricing and services for the next contract term, which we're requesting for 2 years with a 3rd year rollover. All of the details are put out in a request for quote document that outlined, you know, the insurance they have to carry and all of those service agreements. What we're asking for tonight is for council to recognize that Simcoe Refrigeration had the preferred pricing, that we would like to enter into negotiations for the service agreement. That agreement would then come back for final authorization as bylaw because it is a service agreement with the municipality. David, did you have anything else to add on that?
Not really.
Okay.
That covers it.
Any questions, Trevor?
So in determining that what we're going to be getting compared to what we've been getting in the past, do we have any sense of what type of savings we might be looking at? Like, are we looking at 2,000, 10,000?
A lot of it's going to depend on your breakdowns. like when you're replacement of motors, replacement of parts. Service-wise, an example is with Blythe Arena, we started treating our water and we don't need our condenser cleaned. If you go into the other contracts, it's all in one, and they plan on doing all that. Where this year, and even last year, we don't clean our condenser anymore because our water is being treated. So savings-wise, I mean, that's one thing there.
So just to give you an example, a condenser cleaning that he's talking about is about a $450 item that we may be able to avoid if it's not required by looking at the plant and seeing the condition. Another example would be if they've been in to do an emergency repair and then they show up the next week to do a mid-season check. That mid-season check is not necessary. They've just been there and done a repair and checked the whole system over. So a mid-season check, it's approximately $175. So we feel that there are some savings to be had in the preventative maintenance side. We have no ability to control breakdown, but we did get the best pricing from Simcoe for their hourly rate and such for breakdowns.
Now, I was more questioning what you were at when you said that we're doing work that really isn't necessary, what we're paying for.
Mm-hmm.
So is that $600 or is it $6,000? If it's, that's all I was kind of more.
So that gives you some pricing ideas, about $600 we hope to save. In some cases, the mid-season check is required because they haven't been there all year, we haven't had a breakdown. So we do need them to come in to ensure our plant continues to operate.
You're not going to save thousands.
No, but hundreds, hopefully.
I mean, you could save $1,000 very easily.
Right?
So who's doing it now?
The vendor which their contract ended was Black & McDonald Refrigeration. Prior to that, we had Drennan Refrigeration. Prior to that, we had Simcoe. This time, we're recommending Simcoe.
You've had these ones before.
They're all excellent. They all do good work. They're all good response time, excellent technicians. We wouldn't have invited them to provide a quote if we did not think they were excellent.
They did it before.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay. The motion, Knott and Hallahan. All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving to the utility department. You want to move things on?
Actually,
Or just take questions?
yeah, I'll just take questions. I don't have anything to add to this.
Okay. Well, if there isn't any questions.
One question.
Oh, okay.
When, Don, when do we expect the running of the tap to kind of subside? Is it like May, or are we?
Actually, last year it was the first week of May before the last one actually thawed, but I'm hoping in the next, it'll be at least a good solid week or two yet. We just had another frozen water service call today, so the frost is still down there. So we've got to keep our guard up to.
So what I will say, and the reason I ask, is that I actually got stopped at one of the local Rexall and wanted to commend the public works staff. They were away on vacation in Florida, and they come back on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. to frozen pipes, and they had one running, and your staff was there within a half hour to help them out. So the ratepayer said not always did they get the acknowledgement they deserve, and that Sunday morning at 8 o'clock, they were more than appreciative of the response time. And if you want to take that to you and you're back to your staff, thank you.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? The mover and seconder, I guess.
Okay, well,
Site
I'll move it.
and, okay, all, if, Brock.
No, I don't have a question.
We're getting, it was haphazard, but we got it done.
I was going to third the motion.
Okay. Fire department. There still seems to be accidents on the road, David.
Stuff still happening. I'm not going to pass any comment on level of call volume or otherwise, just because I don't want to bring any bad things our way. But if council has any questions of our report, it was pretty generic note.
Any questions? Go ahead.
How, David, how are the recoveries on the, from
Fire mark?
Fire Mark? How are they coming along? Are they still a struggle, or is it, are we seeing?
They tell us to expect 90 days to 120 days most of the time for stuff to process.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful in the next, I haven't had time to sort of, hey, where are we at with these, but mathematically that means in the next 2 to 6 weeks we should be hearing and seeing some reply.
Okay.
We continue to invoice for motor vehicle collisions for services rendered, and that's a challenge as well because the insurance companies do their best not to compensate. And we're still running false alarms in excessive allowance, so we're still invoicing for that as well. So, you know, we're abiding by our bylaws, and we'll see what comes of that.
Good. Thank you, David.
Okay. Bill?
Can I just ask David, do you have anything to add as far as the ESTC portion of things, how any of your discussions have progressed any further?
Certainly. As council's aware, we submitted a proposal to the county for support, and that is now at their economic development committee. We are not sort of sitting still, sort of waiting for that money, you know, just sitting on our thumbs. To that end, one of our asks was for support from the fully automated online registration system. Stephanie and Richard L. Found a system that has no upfront capital that will meet our needs, so we're initiating that process. We likewise have made note of the desire to become an affiliate campus in the Ontario Fire Academy. We're continuing to march down that path. And we have also put in an ask of Transport Canada in preparation for an audit of our facility to be an approved marine fire site. So nothing is complete, but the processes are continuing, and we are marching forward while we at the same time are aware that the Economic Development Committee is looking at our proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else on that? Okay, thank you, David. Nothing for unfinished business. And for 8.1, I said that Deputy Reed Campbell would be taking the chair.
You will notice by the agenda that we have a report that has come in here from the Planning Committee for the 150th East Huron anniversary celebration. And they requested the township take a loan of $5,000 for seed money. I don't know if Joan, if you want to add anything to that. The committee meets tomorrow in Belgrade, so if there's anyone interested in going there, it's at the Belgrade Community Center at 7 o'clock. Councillor Knott?
This is strictly a loan. We're not looking for an outright donation. This one's for $5,000 loan.
Yes.
For seed
Yes.
money.
It's just seed money.
Just to clarify, that's fine. Yeah, no problem.
All those in favor?
subcommittee of the Belgrade Community Center Board?
No,
You're an independent committee?
group.
And you're trying
We
to-
had a meeting last, 2 weeks ago tomorrow night, and it was a stormy night, so there were only a few in attendance at that meeting. The committees will probably be set up at tomorrow night's meeting, but they're interested in doing a continuation of the history book that came out, Wilderness to Wawanach. So it was felt book needed to be started right away, the request should get into council before tomorrow night's meeting.
I think we still have some books here.
Yes,
in the
we were
township.
checking out the numbers here to find out on that.
And if I could respond.
Yeah.
It is actually on the agenda for tomorrow night to see what kind of structure the committee would like to see to set up. So it hasn't been decided yet.
That was my question.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, that 8.2, Lisa Thompson has a private member's bill. Hope you've read what it says over. Does council have an appetite to support? Rock?
I've moved that we support this private members bill.
And Bill Knight, seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay. Here's 8.3, 2015 Maitland Valley Conservation Authority priorities and budget. Trevor.
Just an actual, when I read this, I really didn't get a sense of what was the restructuring. I really the other than the 3 bullets, but is that all that was restructured? I guess that's what I'm struggling
Some of
with.
the staff, we've done some staff changes also.
Okay.
For restructuring. And I think it's in this report, where they're actually going to, they put up the campground at Falls Reserve.
Yep.
Up for tenders, because we as a board don't feel that we should be in the camping business. That's not the Conservation Authority's business, that's something else.
Bill?
Mr. Kimball, have they received any interest?
The documentation was just sent out, and they're hoping to have, I don't know whether they will or not. If they don't, I don't know what they're going to do then, because it's pretty strong. Yeah. There's a lot of things that need to be done in the campground. And they just don't have, basically, it just doesn't have that kind of money. And all the board members didn't feel that they could go back to their municipalities and help to raise that $1.7 million to put those upgrades in. So that's kind of where we're at.
Okay. Ray.
I'm trying to go through this, and what is North Huron getting extra for $4,000, or what are we actually getting? I'm trying to think it over here. That's a fair question.
Sure is.
You know? I mean, I think, is it administration?
What, a lot of it is the flood forecasting that has come in.
That's soon got to be done.
It's got to be
How long
done.
has
They
that
just,
been going on for?
there was a company just came in and donated equipment now for them to use to take how much snow we get, so that we can tell, and it'll tell you how much water is in that snow. Not all the snow is all the same. And so this gives them a better idea on how to forecast what the flooding is going to be in the spring. Right now, they're saying we'll have very little flooding, but it depends on the moisture that we get between now and later on.
So what can we do about this flooding?
I really don't know. We can't do anything about it. That's part of life.
Will we just keep on measuring?
Yes, we have to be able to, the flood forecasting is they have their gauges set up all the way along the river so that they can say, this is going to hit Wingham from Molesworth within 3 hours. So you need to be moving planks up and down under your dam out here, if there's planks in. These are the kind of things that they're working on very strong to get going. When we have flooding conditions in the watershed, there's people that stay at the Conservation Authority office in Bluebell and Rockslip, just reading these gauges that are saying what the water's coming up and down.
Trevor?
So this is kind of a subset to Councillor Hallahan's question. So from what I see, it's a 5% increase in the levy. We had from 1 year to the next. You think cost of living is about 2.5%. If just the normal cost of doing business is an extra 2.5%, what's the additional 2.5? Is that just the flood forecasting? Is that the major of it?
In the restructuring, we tried to bring our wages. They're working at making their wages comparable with other foundations.
So in 2015, there's an adjustment for that to deal with wages and stuff that potentially you can't go without. In this particular year, in 2016, we should see a lower reduction in that sense.
I don't think you'll see a lower reduction.
A lower increase?
Maybe a lower increase. Our funding that has been coming through has got smaller and smaller. We are now getting the same funding that they got in 1992. So these extra costs that keep going up, there's nothing that we can really do about them.
Well, I guess getting back again, I see that Falls Reserve deteriorating to the point where they can't operate it anymore. I think the Swan-Ash conservation area the snow never got moved out this year in the parking lot, which was always blue, and I think that contract was gone, so it wasn't blue.
Part of that was that the Board of Education, our local Board of Education, decided not to use any of the programs that they used to have at the Nature Center this year. Instead, they were funding on kids going to tube rides in St. Mary's and cross-country skiing and skiing up at the Blue Mountain. So all those, I think they had close to 3,000 kids go through there last winter, or a year ago. There was actually none of the schools that they didn't bring any of the kids this year at all. So that program was literally gone for this year.
And just a comment from the emergency preparedness perspective. For those that did the emergency exercise with us last December, while I won't defend or sort of substantiate their budget or not, I would say that from emergency preparedness, the level of information and the speed with which they can get it to us is really impressive, and it is really valuable to some of our residents who would be in flood-prone areas. But that's not a defense or advocating on behalf of the budget, but just as anecdotally, what they do for us in terms of flood preparation is outstanding.
Okay, Brock?
It's rather a difficult thing. When this comes up every year, we complain about the increase, which happens every year. But in the end, there's really not much we can do about it because we're all part of the general area. And if we were to say, oh, we're not going to pay anything this year, then that throws everybody else off. So I mean, ultimately, we can talk about it, but I don't think there's a heck of a lot we can do.
Trevor?
Yeah, and I guess I'm not one to really argue the number. I guess it's like everything. I just want to know how do they justify it, and if it's reduced in funding they're getting from somebody else, or additional cost of inflation, like showing me a draft budget, which is great, but it really doesn't tell me what's changed and what the justification is. So that's really the conversation that I look for when, even in our budget, it's just a matter of it can't be just status quo, or it can't be just, here's the cost of living, give it to me, justify the number, and at least then you would have no issue or no concern with us asking certain questions. There is gonna be costs that come up over the time where things happen. I get it, but it's just when it's a constant, and especially when it's 5%, it tends to me to be, I just want to hear some justification from the number, that's all.
Brock?
I think if we need answers like that, we need to ask for the Phil Beard to come and make a presentation to us, or perhaps some of the staff to get into the detail of it. There's no way that we can go through their books here with what we have.
James?
So I think if we look back at the very first of that report, it says that Phil Beard was here on February the 3rd, 2014. He made a presentation to council outlining their plans for restructuring, strengthening their cores of service, and their plans to change that with these and their changes. At the very first, the flood forecasting is the biggest one. Technical support, flooding progressing, developing water course and regulations. He came and made that presentation back in February last year, and it was to outline some of the things that were coming down that we have to be a part of.
So all I would say to that is maybe regurgitate that and send it to the new councillors, because I wouldn't have,
You did, yeah.
I wouldn't have seen that, or potentially wouldn't have been.
And Phil's quite willing to come back and make another presentation. What he tries to do is he tries to make a presentation to each one of the councils in the watershed in the year. So that tells you, and if you want him, we book him and he'll come and make a presentation. But he did make a presentation back in February 2014.
Okay, basically, this is asking for approval of the municipal levy that has been assessed to us, whether we're willing to vote in favor, and to change the Maitland Valley budget. There would have to be a majority of municipalities involved, turn it down, and then they'd have to start over again trying to get something that would pass, so that it's sort of between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, always.
Is the discussion.
I don't think there's nothing wrong with questioning it though, and I guess
Yeah.
this flood visioning, this is very important, yes, but you can only do so much of it, I think, can't you? Like, once you get it once, I'm just wondering what else we get. Like, I can see soil erosion projects and stuff like that, but I guess my feeling is it gets, I'm going to say too much in monitoring water, which we can't do anything about.
They do have a couple of large watersheds that they are working in that are part of, but it's not in our municipality.
No, we're talking
but it is,
Harrison,
but-
or we're talking these other places, what are we actually getting in North Huron, right? But anyway, that's, no, I realize it's important, but.
And I think Phil put out a lot of things at the meeting in February, what has happened in our municipality in the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, that would be good, it's nice to go over that again.
Brock?
I think this all goes back to a matter of trust. I mean, I feel that Phil and his organization are open, and they recognize our budgeting problems, and so I feel that we have to go and make the assumption that they're doing the best they can with the resources they have, and as I say, we have had a presentation, and they've been open, sharing their plans with us. I don't know what more we can ask for.
I don't think there's anybody here in council who's mistrusting it at all. I mean, that's not the right word at all. I mean, it's just a matter of what are we getting for our dollar is what we're asking.
Well,
that's plain English, and it's easy.
The reality, I think, is that while we don't see that much of it in North Huron, I think it's being a good citizen as part of the amalgamation that creates Maitland Valley, and that, that different things happen in different parts, with emphasis in different municipalities in different years. So that, I think this is one of the things that we maybe have to bite and abide by, but Trevor?
So to not harsh this on anymore, I will make a motion to approve the Maitland Valley Authority draft budget and municipal levy for 2015 on base with the assumption of to regurgitate the information that was presented by Phil Beer on February 2014. Okay?
And Yolanda's seconding. Okay, I think we've hashed it pretty well. All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving to council information, there's the annual work files, smart growth. Central Research and Planning Council. Is there any of those topics that anybody wants to bring forward? If not, that the council agree that correspondence be ordered, read, and filed.
So moved.
What seconds? All in favor? Committee reports, Blythe Business Improvement Area, February 25th minutes. Any questions? Trevor?
There was a mention of, which I found rather interesting, they would like to see more cross development with the Wingham BIA. Has there been any correspondence between the two BIAs to make that happen?
No.
Not yet.
Is there any plan?
No.
Okay. I'll try question number 3. Will there be a plan?
If I could speak to that. There has certainly been some talk amongst the two committees up until this point, and they have been invited to different events, and they actually partnered on when we had the employment workshop a couple of years ago. They were both partners on the event and brought that to area employers. So it has happened. We would really like to see it happen more, but there certainly it has been a part of the discussion, ongoing discussion. They are two very new groups that are really still trying to get their own goals and direction set. So it will happen. It will come.
Trevor?
So Connie, in that sense, with their wanting to get their own goals established, has there been any? I think I already know the answer to this question, but has there been any discussion about consolidated goals or kind of together goals?
Well, you have to remember that the BIA by nature is the business improvement area in which the levy is gathered for that. So it is specifically very much a Wingham and Blythe group at this point in time. So the kinds of partnerships and things that they are going to be looking for will probably come out of, again, events, hosting events, succession planning, some kind of education events for employers. So that, again, but right now they're looking at kind of more, on the ground kind of things, downtown beautification, and things like that, that really, that they can look to improve their own downtown and their own business areas at this point in time. But I think, we will see them work on marketing. It is a goal with both municipalities, or both groups, to look at education and opportunities for business owners, and to kind of bring things a little more local, and more convenient for a time that business owners can actually attend and benefit from that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Wingham BIA, any questions? Okay, moving to bylaws. This is for third and final reading. of bylaw number 11, 2015, and being a bylaw to provide for drainage works in the township of North Huron in the county of Huron. Do I have a mover to the third? The Court of Revision would probably be the best ones to do if they, Hallahan and Campbell. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 19, being a bylaw respecting construction, demolition, change of use permits and inspections. And for the first and second reading, Campbell and Knott. All in favor? Carried. The third and final reading of bylaw number 19, 2015. Knott and Hallahan. All in favor? Carried. Council reports and inquiries. Trevor.
So I was asked by a local community group that is named Bridges. Bear with me. Oh, I can never remember their name.
Just to the future? Or?
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. It's basically from the Bridges to Our Community. That's what it is. So what it is a group that is trying to bring newer playground equipment to Maitland River, revitalization of the soccer field and track at Effie Medill, and provide an outdoor learning grounds for, thank you Pat, for the at Sacred Heart. So they had asked me if I would be interested in going as a council representative to sit on that committee. I wanted to bring it here. I did send an email to the group to see if there was any concerns. I have had one meeting with them. What I will say to them is that it has been a 2-year or 1.5 years that they've been planning. It's a large capital investment within the community, partnering with the actual Avon Maitland School Board, Maitland River, Sacred Heart, Effie Medill, and local parent council and that stuff. So I was kind of wanting to hear if there's any concerns from council's perspective, as me sitting on that as a council representative. And I'll bring back information that council sees that they would like to see.
The one thing that I want council to understand, if we make you a council representative on that, it would become a committee of council.
This would not be a committee of council because it's actually a school board or isn't it?
Okay.
It's a conglomeration of the schools, the community, school boards. They're looking for, I think, for some municipal input. I had attended some of the meetings, and I haven't attended any recently. We co-wrote a trillium grant with them and things like that last year. It's a big initiative.
So what I will say to you is that there is some co-chairs had to step down. There has been some issues with some planning with regards to the committee, just because of the size and the nature of this. Again, I don't necessarily need to go as a committee, a council representative. I don't need that. I can go as just Trevor Syke because I live in the municipality and I went to that Effie Medill. So I just wanted to bring it to the council's perspective that if I do go and they ask me certain things with regards to the municipality, that I guess what do I do? I am a councillor, but I am not really a representative of council on that committee. But that was the intent that they asked. So I thought I'd bring it up here for you guys to for everybody to talk about it and see what they would like.
Well, in my thoughts, if it wouldn't be a committee of council, we wouldn't need to worry about our insurance company having to cover it. Having you as a liaison would be very beneficial. And if they want something from council, you would bring that back as being able to speak to a request, which would be very beneficial. And in that position, I personally think, but it's something that we probably should have done by motion if council feels that we should have a counselor on that committee. Yeah.
I'm willing to put forward a motion, I think whether you want to call him a liaison or an observer on behalf of North Huron on the committee, which would simply indicate that he's there to watch, but there's no implied financial or otherwise, I guess, on behalf of North Huron. You know, I mean, call him what you will, but I put forward a motion that we ask Trevor to go and sit on your meetings as an observer.
Campbell seconds. Okay, before we do any further discussion, are you agreeable?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, any further discussion that it would have somebody able to report back to us exactly what that committee was doing, and I would look at that as a benefit. So I'll say all in favor of the motion. Carried. Okay. I have a directory up here for Huron manufacturing. I already have some, one or two copies from the county. Okay.
No sale.
Anybody from the gallery that wants it can have it. Okay, moving on to CIO clerk report. The Wingham Area Industrial Land Strategy. Staff has looked at this. This is a recommended motion. Do we have anybody that wants to move this motion? Bill? Seconder? Ray?
Yes.
Okay. Trevor, do you want to speak to it?
I have a comment. So, March the 5th, they had we could have done this on March the 5th. I guess I struggle with, why did we wait? What was the purpose of waiting?
It was a joint special meeting of council. We were not in a position to make a motion that night. We needed to come back to our own council.
Okay, so that's okay that we say that now. It would have been nice for me to have that interpretation at the time. I was not under the impression that we couldn't make a motion at that meeting as our council. So it just seemed to me it seemed like we were delaying something that we were going to say okay to anyways. But if it was because we couldn't do it at that council meeting, then so be it. But that was not the intent that I got from when we said we'd bring it back to council.
That on a number of these financial implications, we want staff to have information available to council and for staff to have seen it beforehand. When I got there, that I had seen the agenda, basically the morning of that meeting. I guess I could have seen it the day before. It was not an agenda that I was really familiar with beforehand. And I wanted our staff to have the ability to bring something before our council as background on it or a recommendation. Brock?
I was disappointed in the meeting in another respect. I feel that we weren't properly briefed on what the purpose of the meeting was. It turned out to be quite a different meeting than I anticipated. I wasn't aware that we were going to be asked to make a decision on the next phase of things. I thought we were on side. I thought we were going ahead. I didn't think that there was a break in the process, and so I found it rather embarrassing to be in a meeting and I don't really have any background on it. There was no briefing on it. I realize the staffing issues that we've had for the last few months have been part of the problem, maybe the whole problem, but I think it's just unfortunate, and I'm glad that we're going to move ahead on it now.
So let me ask a different question. Was the $10,000 new to the old councillors sitting? I guess I didn't think that was new. It sounded like to me like that whole process, the whole industrial land strategy was talked about. I guess my question is, was the 10,000 a new thing that
The
caught
actual
people
number
off?
was. Having the servicing strategy wasn't, having the number with it was new.
Okay.
Bill?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was an additional cost that hadn't been discussed prior
Correct.
to, but the need for the study had been discussed, but the cost of it had never come forward until that point. That's my understanding.
Kathy?
And the purpose of the meeting was an information meeting to bring both councils up to speed on the status of the studies and what still needed to be done. And this is the fifth and last study that had to be undertaken. So it needed council's, our commitment to go ahead with that fifth study. So that was the whole purpose of the meeting. This study is really being undertaken by Morris Turnberry. They received the funding. They have actually steered this whole process, and we are putting a financial commitment towards it. So they were bringing everyone up to speed on the studies that had been undertaken or are in progress. So that was the purpose of the meeting. It was more of an information meeting.
Yes.
Okay, ready for the vote? All in favor? Carried. Okay, and 14.2, Wingham Police Service Board, and Chief of Police wants basically to be able to do some pre-purchasing with 2015 draft budget, basically before we have the exact 2015 budget. So this portion, is there somebody willing to move that we move ahead? Trevor and Yolanda? Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Bill?
What is the purpose of us buying 6 carbine rifles for the police force? What is their justification for this purchase?
So the justification of this purchase is the incident that happened up on Highland Drive when they were doing their surveillance with OPP. They were standing beside an OPP officer that had one and they didn't. So the conversation was, the justification is, and the board, the police service board has said, it is our intent to make sure that we have officers that go home. That's what we want. We want them to go home. And we know that the criminals out there do not just carry handguns. That is a fact. So why would we not ensure that our police force has the proper equipment to ensure that the civilians and themselves are safe? That's the justification from the Police Services Board why they approved that motion and are requesting this money.
I understand they're worried they didn't have it, but I'm going to ask the question, was there any discharge of weapons at that incident? And did it require the OPP to discharge their weapons?
No, it did not.
So, in other words, the rifles really were secondary to the situation.
I think we're making suppositions
Well-
that sometimes having a deterrent available makes decisions happen as well.
That being said, we have the OPP who do have it. So I'm not necessarily going to oppose it. I just have a hard time with us continually arming our police forces, whether it be the Wingman Police or the OPP, constantly to the point. I won't use the word I'm going to use, but to the point where we're literally spending all kinds of money on equipment that never gets used, whether it be rifles or other things.
It's like not wanting to buy insurance because my house has never burned down.
Correct.
Okay. In the essence of time, is there any more comment? All in favor? Carried. Kathy?
Further to the decision by council to go ahead with the farmers market, staff would just like to mention that we will have to have further talks with that committee and enter into agreement for the use of municipal property, and there will be other discussions we will have to hold, like hydro services and just what they will need down there to road closures. There's a number of different issues that will have to be addressed before we can just proceed with that. So just so that Pat had asked me to bring that forward, that we will have to have further discussions and agreements with that committee before we can finalize everything. And Donna has asked tonight that she would like to speak for very briefly.
Yeah, sure. So you have your updated copy of your budget ready for next Monday night's budget meeting. So I've updated the year-to-dates, and the department heads, all the changes to date have been included. We're sitting at 2.24% this moment. I have a list of all the notes are in it on any highlights or changes, and I think in the budget portion I've highlighted any of the changes from last time. We're starting to hit the time crunch, so please email me with any specific questions so we can make sure that there aren't any unanswered questions by the end of next meeting, so that we know where we're at. Also, I'd like you to think for next Monday night's meeting, so that'll be 3 meetings open to the public, and I would like to know whether you want to have another meeting in addition to that before we take the meeting to a council meeting, and the time frame is April the 20th for that. So if you would let me know for next Monday night whether you want to have another public meeting about the budget with not a working meeting, but just another information meeting, or whether you feel we've had enough information meetings after the 3 meetings and possibly 1 more meeting following that. So just want you to think about that. And as I said, if you have any questions, please email me so that we have a really productive meeting next Monday night. Thank you.
Okay. Moving to public gallery questions. Joe.
Last 14.2 on that lease thing there, I hope my taxes aren't going towards that.
That's area rated.
It's for just the wing.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So don't come up to wing and fool around, Joe.
If you come, you gotta bring your
Well,
own bullet.
the OPT's gotta do anything serious anyway, so I don't think they need to.
Okay. Danny.
Quick question for Donna, that 2.4% is still levy, right?
That's the percentage of increased spending over last year's in dollars.
And sorry, one quick question for Trevor. You were talking about the, got it here, the building bridges to our future group.
Yep.
Now, when I last talked to them, they were only doing work between Maitland River Elementary School and Medill? When did the Catholic school get added?
So I think the learning, the outside learning is close to Catholic school. I don't know whether it's actually on. Like, I've only been to one meeting, so I'm catching up as well.
Okay.
So I believe it's in that area, but I don't know whether it's the Catholic school that it's on, that area is on the Catholic school property.
Or is it the hill?
It might be the hill too. I was just giving you details as I got them, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other ones? Laura? Easy meeting for you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Pardon? Okay, we have an in-camera session, and this is to discuss personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employee. Gordon and Callahan moved the motion. All in favor? Carried. We will have a very short break.